better after 12 hours.
All right, so let's recap about yesterday. So yesterday we took the transmission all apart, and last night, all night, so that's 2 nights in a row that I haven't slept to clean all of this, right?
They get no 12 hours sleep.
Yeah, Dio working with the people 12 minutes.
Anyway, so this is not the same case that we took out last night, of course. This case,
What's that there? Is that JB Well?
this is actually a Cadillac Eldorado transmission, and they painted it all. And the spots that got blue are the ones that they come out with the hot water when I washed it. That's what it is.
Manny, is there actually a difference between the Cadillac and the old transmission?
There's one year on a Cadillac, the 67, that has a different bolt pattern. 1 year.
So what bolt patterns it fit on? What is it?
It fit the 425 Cadillac engine. Was it 425? I think it was 425. In 67, they didn't have the 500. They have a smaller engine.
472.
472, that's what it was. Okay. All the other years, all the same. Okay, looks like I'm gonna need more tools still. So we might take a break later. All right, so after I clean it all up, then I gather all the stuff I need. So you need, I bought. You can't get these anymore. They've been obsolete since 2007. So Transtech used to make these. Now, you can buy kits for the 425. The problem is some of the paper's still the same, but the seals they're using for LED seals. And the 4 LED seals, the lips are a little smaller. And they're using a metric system. We used to use the American system, English system, whatever. So ours is a little bit bigger. And it's important on ours because our tolerances are not as tight as the new transmission. So for them, it's worked fine. Ours, we got issues. And like I said, I bought it with the Farfex seal gaskets for the fan and the chain cover. They come with O-rings, but these are Buna, and I went out and I bought my own Vicon O-rings, so I've got, so I don't use these. So you need this, and then we'll vacuum modulator. Bearing pack. It's actually made by Torrington, but Timken bought them, and I used to get these for 15 bucks. And then after they bought it, it was 33 bucks. Bushings. And these, I used the metal stuff. Oil rings, all metal. The band. Can you get a picture of that? So from that to that, can somebody see the difference?
Yeah, it's just
Wider. There we go.
1/4 inch water.
Yeah. Orange. The springs, bushings. Actually, I might have more than one set. So. All my roll pins. On the vent, this one. Can you put a shot of this there? All right, so that's your vent right there. So I put this on there, all of them. And if I don't put this one, I'll put one that's threaded in, but
Show it to the camera.
I thought I was.
Not quite. There we go. That's got it.
Okay. Oh yeah, the stainless stuff. More springs. I'm panicking here. All right, so I got one sprag, and I thought I had one of each, but it doesn't matter. These are auto red frictions. Filters. And this is the only snap ring that I replace, because the other one's too small. So I already put the Planetary system, the direct drum, and the forward drum together. So I'm gonna take it apart real fast so I can show what I did. And I like to do it on top here. And I'm really not going to take it completely apart, but I'll try to do as much as I can.
May have somebody hold something for you?
No, see, the thing is, this is, all the bush has been replaced, so everything is a little tighter than normal.
That's what I'm worried about, the falling off of there, though.
And then put it in.
Level that top out a little bit?
I can't because of the,
Okay.
this thing's tweaked.
And if you're trying to amaze us, you're succeeding. But as far as learning anything,
All right, so all of this comes apart. This, there's a bearing inside of there. The bushing that's inside of here gets replaced, and put a bearing in there, put another bearing in here, and everything gets cleaned and put in. So the first thing that goes in, so on this thing. So when you put this together, the black ring is the first thing that goes in. And then you put this carrier assembly in there. So this carrier, there's a big bushing in here that I replaced. And I also replaced, I put a new, and you can see it right there, a new clutch in there. And so now this goes in. Take it back. This goes in. So this goes in.
What about that thing you took out and have it laying on the case right beside yours?
And you can see, once you replace the bushes, you see how nice and snug that is. That means it's not going to leak when you're, okay, and it's still turning. So this is it's some kind of alloy. I used to know. I guess I'm forgetting. Good thing there was nothing there. So this goes in. Now this, I don't know if you guys noticed, but they had a plastic one in there. And this takes a lot of force with a motorhome. It takes a lot more heat. I've seen them completely to nothing. Just smashed completely, the plastic ones. The third set of bearings. And the carrier. Now, all right, how close is your, get real close on there. Closer on this position right there. Can you see that right there? No?
I see.
It shows.
That is not on our transmissions. That was never there. That was one of the things that came out in 1980. And in 1980, GM wasn't making these anymore. So this is that little thing, and it's got a little tiny little hole. 132, which is all 31 thousandths. And that's what puts oil on these bearings right here. That's it right there. So that's one thing that I do.
So that's a good thing, right?
That's a great thing. The other thing I do like I said, everything's new, so everything's just so the other thing I do is I plug there's 3 feed holes. I plug this hole right here, and this is for reverse. So what I do is reverse uses this hole and that hole, uses both. It uses both sides of the piston. So in reverse, you're filling up both sides of that piston on third gear, which is third gear on your direct drum.
I don't know why it's not focusing.
And but when you're driving in third gear, you only got one side. And I go, okay, why not do both? Well, actually, I didn't come up with it. I can't say that. Somebody else did. But you know, so I learned that why not apply both sides? And when in reverse, you apply both sides anyway. So that's one of the things I do is I apply both sides of reverse, of the third gear. What that does is doubles the amount of apply on those clutches. Because when you're going uphill, a lot of people don't shift down in time. And now you've got more apply, you know, chances are you're not going to fail as soon. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of success with this is because of that one thing that I do. The downside of that is that if you run low on oil, okay, and you go to a gas station and you go to leave and you can't go forward, well, guess what? You can't go forward or backwards either, because if you only burn one side, you can still might be able to put more pressure on it, and you can still get a little bit of reverse. It might be really faint, but you can still leave. Now, you know, if you burn it, you burn it. But I think it's more advantageous to have that, you know, than not have that. So that's one of the things I've been doing. The other thing is, I gotta go back up here.
Good go.
Manny, what's that whole assembly called that you've been working on?
Planetary. The other thing I do is I have these bronze bushings done.
Don't you machine that?
Somebody machines them. And they go on here. And what that does is it doesn't let this drum from locking on there. And this will rock on there because when you're putting your, when you're applying the bands, this band is going to put a lot of force on there, and they'll try to, this is loose, I mean, you can, if that's not centered, whatever, it will try to go around. So because there's so much variation on the way they machine the parts that, if I put it in there, so now everything stays true. So I try to put this back in there. So this goes in. And what I do, I just use transmission fluid. That goes on the bottom. And then goes in between 3 sets of taps. I don't know if you want to go in there.
Good try.
Okay.
Showed that time.
Hey, Gene? Fisher? Fix stuff up.
This unit alone is called the center support.
Okay.
And this one, the Turbo 400s had the same one, and the 4L80s have the early 4L80s up to 1997, 96 or 97, so from 90 to 97, have the same thing. The newer ones have are a little different. So you can use, so these are available. So technically you could go out and buy those and use it on this. But me, I've got so many of these that, just drill that hole and put the pin in there and drill the smaller hole. It's, it's a lot easier. So I'm using the 425s and put it in. The other thing I use on these, some of these come with metal.
Can you put your mic back on?
No. Some of these come with metal, and I toss them out, and I only use aluminum applied pistons. So Gino ought to be here soon.
Manny, can I ask a question while we're waiting?
Yes.
Regarding the questions and what you were just talking about, The first Manny tranny I put in my coach that I got from you 3 years ago shifted the way it shifted, nice and smooth, no problems, and then I burned it up. And I replaced it with another brand new Manny tranny that you did at Ken's. And it shifts fine, but it's much more firm than the first one. I mean, it's nowhere near as smooth a shift. It's a little bit more of a pop when it shifts gears. What would cause the difference?
All right, so what causes the difference is your vacuum modulator.
Ah,
So crank it back or crank it forward.
okay.
So when I,
When you install the vacuum modulator, can you show that?
yep.
Okay.
All right, so now we're going back.
Those aren't even Harbor Freight.
They are.
Are they Harbor Freight?
Yeah.
So I put in the, this drum in. So this is the low reverse clutch. Clutch? No. Low reverse band. So this is the low reverse band that goes in. And then the next thing is the fretting ring. This is a fretting ring, and this thing is 40 thousandths thick. And this thing on the early transmissions before, so there was like, they had like stage 1 and stage 2 transmissions. They didn't have this. So these tabs were 40 thousandths thicker. What happened was, every time this band went on, this thing would rattle, because the only thing you've got is one snap ring here and one bolt here. This thing would rattle. And when it rattles on this thing starts wearing out. So then they came out and put this in. Then in 1990, or in 1980, they go, oh, wait a minute,
See it or not.
we can fix that. We'll put that in. So now they put this in, so everything's good. But we never learn all this stuff, right?
With Dr. Manny there, huh?
So I'm hoping this thing will stay on here.
It's not though.
But we have the technology, we can do that.
Nope, not enough.
I don't even know if I'm doing the same too.
Precision bending tool.
Which one was it? Which one did I bend?
Up and down, up and down 4 times.
See, now I went too much.
What is it you're bending?
Just the tabs, just so I can, so it doesn't fall off when I.
What is the thing he's asking?
This is just a bushing. So I mean,
Thrust plate.
thrust washer.
Oh, okay. I can see the guys at Hydromatic taking the time to bend.
No, let me go.
Okay. Secret stuff happening here.
It lasts as long as it wants.
So the thing is to put this thing in. Can I get a volunteer? All right, just on this side, just hold this up. We want, no, just, okay. We'll go like this. There you go. There you go. That works. So it's nice to have this flat because when you're trying to do is, it needs to go straight down and in between all the tabs. And what you want to do is you need to orientate this hole right here with that hole right there.
Remember that.
You didn't get enough of it, right?
Yeah, well, they can see it enough.
So what I do, is anybody with a pen or a marker or anything?
Yeah. I can get down. That's a Sharpie.
Yeah. Okay.
Scaffold.
Okay, put a mark right there.
Go
Right
ahead.
here on top. There you go. So I know that this thing right here goes on a certain area inside the case. Last time this thing was longer.
It's caught behind the clip there on your belt.
Oh, that's what it is. Technology. All right, so let's see if it's all going. All right, show in here.
Dry.
Inside of there. Can't really see that much.
No.
No. Okay.
Flashlight help?
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Much better. Oh, yes.
Okay. So you guys see this ring right here? You see where the screwdriver is hitting that ring right there? So this is where I leave the ends in the middle, around this area here where this boss is. So, because when you're taking it out, if it's on this side somewhere, you almost need 2 people and 4 things in there trying to pry the snap rings out. So I gotta take this apart because almost always, if I don't do it now, I'm gonna be doing it. Because something isn't going quite right. Okay. Because I had it tilted on the side, everything snapped out, including this thrust washer that was in there. All right, where's that mark at? Oh, there it is. Give me that screwdriver.
This,
Anyway, so this one is a really tight fit in there.
there goes the bushing
Huh?
right there, it's falling.
Yeah, it's okay. We haven't put the drums in yet. Now we gotta find the break time again?
Yeah.
Indication, then that's,
There's gotta be 90 million.
How's what?
Planetary.
All submitted by the
Concerned about the whole indication in the Planetary, you're not gonna do anything. You're there aligned now?
Whole indication.
Yeah, when you installed here, you concerned about this hole being lined up. You do nothing to check it now?
No, it was just wasn't going down at first.
Yeah,
So I wanted to make sure that it was because something I was doing or I wasn't going right down straight, and that was something that I was doing.
but you marked to line up with a hole down here.
Correct.
Now, are you gonna check and be sure it actually wound up the line?
At this time, I know I'm lined up a line, but here's what I'll tell you what I do later.
Okay.
Because, you know, when I'm installing this, I can go with this guy, and it's gonna go all the way through. Okay?
Good. I didn't want it to be off.
Right. But the thing is, but usually I know I did it, so I just continue going. But when I go and put the plate on, when I go actually tighten bolts up, I put that one first. Make sure that lined up, because if I put all these bolts in and then I turn it over and I do that bolt and it doesn't line up, then I got to take all of this out, take everything out. And that's why I got this here. But anyway, I'm lined up. I was pretty sure I was lined up. Anyway, so the next snap ring is this one. And this one's got a little bevel on it. And the same way, I orientate it so that when you put it in, and then to make sure I know it's in, I get my blade in there and I can turn it and push it back, make sure that it's all in, and this one's all in. So so far we're doing good. The next thing I need from somebody, who's got pocket knives? I need them all. No, I just need one. Would you open the blade?
This one?
Whatever blade, whatever it does.
I didn't cut it.
Oh, there it is.
Use the other one if you want to cut that. Let me cut it.
That's just a stamp blade. Sharp knife.
I'm gonna make a bowl out of it.
Oh, that is sharp.
Well, I cut your finger off there.
We cut his finger off, it's not finished.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That can go in the garbage.
What kind of ATF do you use?
So I use Mobile One synthetic because I use the switch pitch, and they tend to get hotter with the stuff I do, the stupid things I do. So I need synthetic, but typically you just use regular ATF. All right, so can I get a volunteer to do this for about 2 hours? Oh, somebody actually was volunteering?
As much as I'm learning from you, yes. Will I ever do this again? No. I'll send it to someone.
The idea is to send it to Manny.
And Manny keeps threatening to retire. That scares me.
I thought I brought everything over, I guess not. More stuff. Okay. So now we put the second gear. This is the clutches.
Oh, my flashlight?
Yeah. Try it. And this is really open in there.
Press the button to turn it off and on.
Oh, okay.
This is really open in there, and this is really pretty simple. It just
put them in, just make sure they go in between the tabs. And I use the same steels most of the time. The only time is if I get a transmission that's got a little rust on it, then I'll toss those out and just get new steels.
Steels available.
Yeah. This is the only snap ring that I replace, because the snap ring on that is really thin and thin. It's thin this way and thin this way. This one's thicker, it's like 100 thousandths, not quite 1/8, but the other one's like 60 or 70 thousandths. So this gives me more. Being thicker means the piston doesn't have to go as high. It gives me more control.
Pressure.
That's it. Okay. So the next thing, you need a really special thing. You need to have these, the tabs oriented so that, when you put it,
Oh, okay, that kept the interface.
Yeah.
Lined up.
so if you look down, they're all straight up and down, right?
Yeah. No. This one.
No, they are. It's just the way he's at an angle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, looks pretty straight to me.
Yeah, so they're straight up and down. Yeah. And that's, So the next thing that goes on is, I showed it, oh. This guy. So this is the 4L80 band. Okay, it's wider. And he gets ATF also.
Is there a lining bonded on that, or is it just steel to steel?
Is this what?
Is there a
Is there
lining?
a lining in there, or is that steel to steel?
Oh no, there's a lining. It's like a brake liner, yeah. Okay. No, there's a lining in here. And in here, there's that tab, this tab right here.
Okay.
That's where that goes. And then from the side here, there's a hole there. There's a hole. And that hole, this hole, yeah, that's where the servo. No. That's for the other band.
What does applying this band do?
This band is when you're upshifting or downshifting. You see that?
Yeah.
All right, so that pushes on here. So let me put this in here. Okay. So can you see that? So that pushes on the direct drum. So what happens is when you're downshifting or putting in reverse, that direct drum needs to stop so the other drum can take over. And while it's draining, because we're also taking fluid off the thing, but that takes time. It doesn't happen just all of a sudden. So that, you need to hold it while it's draining, so you're pushing it in and holding it, then when you take it off, it just disengages. That kind of thing. Now we put in this guy. Gosh, we'll be done by 2 o'clock. All right, so I put all this together, but I'm gonna take it apart so you can see. So in here, so in here, I put the bent tabs that Bill was talking about. You see it?
Yeah.
No, I need to orient this.
I can see.
Oh, hold on. So if you point the camera here, you can see that this area's been machined. You can see it shining, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I machined this to a certain, and I don't know what, because they're individual. They're different between 5,000s, 8,000s. They're all different. So I machine them all individually. That's the thing about it. You can't. No. So I can get my consistency that I want. And this is just putting the clutches back. And then in the middle here, I put the wave.
Andy, you're orienting those and everything. Is one of those,
I'm orienting those because there's oil comes out, and there's some areas that if you block it, then it's the oil is just trying to find other ways to come. I'm just trying to facilitate everything for when the oil comes out, it just comes out as fast as can.
okay,
Okay, so if you put it, because if you put different orientations on there, then the oil has to come this way and then that way and this way. You know what I mean? If you put it all the same, they'll just, because it tends to go the shortest.
Right.
Yeah, okay, you guys got that.
thank you.
All right, so this sprag, you can see it's got a lot of sprags. So this is the 34 element versus the 16 element. So this one has no backlash whatsoever, and that's why we put it in. And one thing on the 425s, when you put this in, it's got to rotate counterclockwise, because if you rotate clockwise, it's not going to work. And the thing is, yes, and I've got transmissions that were rebuilt and the guy could never get them to work. And I do warranty on AMCO transmissions because, they, sometimes.
Because you can fix it.
But the thing is, most of the time it's because this thing was installed the other way. Because they're on a 400, everything else is clockwise, and they're just used to putting it in there. They go, well, that's just a drum, right? It's got to be the other way because this whole system is turning the other way. So.
You know that doesn't screw up the whole thing.
So the way I install this. Because everything in here is a really tight fit now. Really tight fit. Just go straight down. Like that.
Amazing.
Anybody want to try?
We don't want to hold the class up for an hour.
2 or 3.
Anyway, so when it's all the way down, it's all the way down. And what I like about this transmission is that, see, it turns. So now I've got my handy little thing. Does anybody got one of these?
Yeah.
Everybody should go out to Harbor Freight and pick one of these up.
They're really cheap. I mean, they're, you know, even if you're eating meat, you need to floss.
Do you need to clean it first?
Oh, man. Real men don't have to do that, do they? So now I do the same thing here, is I orient the, I orient those things there.
Is that isn't the same size as your other orienting tool?
It's not.
No.
Okay.
One is external, one's internal.
Well, you had the one you put inside.
Yeah, that's overturnal.
Okay. Well, that was just such a neat tool.
So I redid this one too. Do you guys want me? I can take it out if you guys can look at it.
That's all right.
I put 6 clutches in here. So this is forward. So whenever the oil comes in here, you should always have pressure. You should always go. Try to go. In other words, when you put it in drive, the motorhome should try to move. Always. If you don't, that means burnt clutches, or mostly burnt clutches, or no oil. So if you're low in oil, you know, low in oil clutches.
Only Carrier doesn't put oil in.
Can
On
you overfill the oil, Manny? Can you?
doesn't matter. Overfilling doesn't really hurt it.
Okay.
The only thing is, if you have this cap right here, this thing right here,
Yeah.
oil comes out, it'll probably come out this way over the chain cover. Usually you got 2 mufflers on there, you might catch on fire.
But other than that, no problem.
Other than that, nothing to do with the transmission, just.
Usually doesn't matter.
No, it
So
doesn't
if
matter.
you put this elbow thing on here, if you have this elbow thing on here, and it got a little hose, 2 feet or 2.5 feet, and it goes on a frame, then who cares? You're actually helping Caltrans, you're all in the road.
Yeah.
Derusting.
On the outside frame.
Can I ask what kind of oil you like, Dextron or Mercon, or Dextron?
Mobile One.
Mercon, or do you have a
Only in
preference?
switch.
No, just, you don't want the one for Ford, you want the one for GM.
Right, which is either Dextron or Mercon, right?
Right, this from Macron,
Or
yeah.
both together?
Right, both
But you
together.
don't use the Ford one?
No. Okay, who else had a question?
I was just saying that hose goes to the outside of the frame, so it's not even in there messing up your stuff.
Right.
Mine goes into a peanut butter jar.
There you go. Okay, here's the thing is, I've seen people put filters in there, I see people put it into a jar, but make sure it's halfway up. Make sure when you put it in a jar, get like a rubber or something so that it's got friction and it's not all the way to the bottom, because if it goes all the way to the bottom, it's probably not venting.
Oh.
So, yeah, so you don't want that you want that air to go both ways. Okay, so, because otherwise it'll go up your fill tube. If it goes up your fill tube, then you got white smoke coming out, right?
Oh, yeah.
Where's George? Yeah. Well, he was. Never mind. We're not going to talk about him.
So what are your thoughts on synthetic coils on these older transmissions?
Oh, it's an overkill, but it's great. Yep. If you don't mind them, it's cost. It's basically cost.
$10 a quart.
Yeah, 5 versus 10.
Paid $7 this week.
So this one, I don't care if it falls off. I just put it there in the middle. This one.
That's how you put them in.
Yeah,
So,
that
and
was
you can-
3, right?
Huh?
That was 3. 3 slaps, son. He's gonna throw something at me, isn't he?
I usually don't do that at home. I don't have an audience. So I lost thought on that. All right, now we need to work on a sub-assembly. And the sub-assembly, we need to cover this up because I'm going to use this as my work table. And the sub-assembly is putting, man, I don't know if I only brought one roll.
Oh.
Is doing the pump plate. So this is the pump plate. So I take the stuff out because there's stuff to do. And by the way, I don't know if you noticed or not, because I had the assemblies all together, but on the center support, the oil rings were metal.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know if you guys noticed that or not, but they were all metal. And the thing we're doing here is
Uh-oh.
Serious now.
Not a very strong table.
Got holes in it.
it's all your fault.
Every time it moves, it goes a little bit.
So this is your pump plate.
I'll set that right there.
Thank you.
What is that? A razor blade. A gasket.
So I'm just scraping off the old gasket.
Put some good lights for the future is a good idea.
Just wiping this off. And because this is a good, because this doesn't have any grooves on here, it's a really good part to go back.
Get a picture of his nifty little scraper there.
Harbor Freight, $1.
About 5 other blades with it.
Actually, if you go to the dollar store, you get 3 for $1. And dollar store, it's all black. Oh, I'm just,
I think it'll
Go with your outfit.
Well, if you're colorblind, it don't make any difference.
So the thing about the dollar store, I was there with my buddy Gene Fisher. Oh, he's not here. I can talk. Oh, he's here. Damn. And we were at the dollar store one time, and they had these little cans, aluminum cans, where you can put with a spray thing on it. Aluminum. You can put, you can put whatever you want in there for spraying and stuff. So I took 3, he took 11, so, So I should have been the other way, but you can get to it.
Which dollar store is this?
This was in,
Is it Dollar General or Family Dollar? or-
no, it's the dollar store there. I think they're called Dollar Store.
Dollar Tree.
Dollar Tree, that's it, Dollar Tree, the green one, right? Yeah.
I never saw a spray can.
Gotta be, go there often.
Anyway, so this thing, the pump plate needs to go and get washed. This I can wipe it down. That needs to get washed, and so I got one washed. Variations of this. 2 variations. One this up here. One has this pocket right here.
Flashlight.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Okay, one has this pocket right here. The other one, this whole casting is missing. And the number, so there's a set of numbers. This is, the last is 897, and the other one is 009. The other one has, but the one I took out was this one, so on the other side, the 009 has an extra set of these. There's another one right here. This hole right here, there's another one here, and there's another one there. Okay, one here and one there. And that was the first. I think the 73s, I'm sure, all have that too, because they just built a bunch of them. And that was because, that was done because of the switch pitch. But they just kept making them, they worked on everything. And then eventually they stopped, they made this one. And the other one, and then they have one more hole right here. One more hole that goes from here to here. Okay, from here to here, which this doesn't have it anymore. So that's the difference between the two.
One works,
Yeah, doesn't work, it doesn't
one
matter.
works on anything and the other only on switch pitch,
Yeah, no, the switch pitch will work on this, but this will not work on the switch pitch.
Okay.
Okay, so the early ones will work all the way to 78. Okay, they didn't have to do this, but these will not work on the, if you try and put a switch pitch together, that's not going to work. The switch pitch, somebody was supposed to ask me something about the switch pitch.
Can you get a switch pitch and just put it in your motor? What modification that, so what's the difference?
All right, so there's a few things. Okay, on the switch pitch, remember the center support. Remember that part. And I was telling you there's a fretting ring, the little ring. On the early ones, they didn't have that fretting ring, so it's going to, on the motorhome, it just exacerbates that much. So that needs to be removed. That needs to be replaced with a later one. That's the center support. The other thing, on the sun gear, this is the sun tube, but the thing that makes to this, you got to drill a 1/4 inch hole in there in order for this to work. You can still use it, but you got to drill a 1/4 inch, otherwise you're going to have heat issues. And they had heat issues, but even with the cars. The other thing is the pump is not as tall. The gears are not as tall, so you don't get as much volume. It's not so much the pressure, it's the volume. So it lags a little. So that's the 3 things you need to address on the switch pitch. So, and I addressed all of that.
So why did you talk me out of getting a switch pitch?
The thing is, what I thought, if you don't know too much about the switch pitch, then you don't move on. If you know a lot, if you're a car guy and stuff, you know a lot about stuff. Because it's just one more thing for you to keep an eye on. Because I've had one guy, he had a switch on the dash on the bottom, and he knocked it on with his knee. So he's driving along, and it's heating up, and he didn't really pay attention, and then he burned it. Okay, so he calls me, what happened? It's just so hot, 280. I go, 280? Oh, okay, forget it. 280 in the pan is too hot. Okay, 280 in the pan is the same as coming out of the torque converter. It's just way too hot. You don't want hot. So it, burned the seals, but they couldn't take it. So you want it where with a controller, some kind of a controller. There's a guy that makes one, so it limits how long you go on it. All right, so 30 seconds. Okay, it takes it out. Or if you put the switch like this guy does, you gotta know. But if you sell it, that the guy doesn't, the new owner doesn't know. It turns it on and it's struck. Burns it up. Then what? So it's less to. Does that answer? Okay. And the other thing, the switch pitch mostly on our application is for going uphill. You don't have to downshift. Just step on the throttle and the stator will move, and you just keep going that speed. That's the thing. The thing is, when you get up on top, you better hope there's a downhill area. Because if there's downhill, you better stop, because the transmission's hot, it needs to cool off, and you're going downhill that cools it off. So that's why we use synthetic. Yes,
So,
sir.
as you're saying hot, how many people use aftermarket transmission coolers? Is that really encouraged, and especially because
I think everybody here has a cooler, along with it.
So I was looking at mine yesterday. I've just got this little bitty thing, which seems like I need to replace living in Colorado.
Mine is about this big.
Okay.
Oh, look at mine. Look at my transmission cooler.
Gotcha.
That's and the thing about mine is it's all metal. Okay, and the thing about it is that it hooks up to the radiator, and it's grounded, and so I don't have problems with the radiator. I don't have problems with that. I don't use any rubber. It's all metal.
Gotcha.
Okay, it's all inverter flare finished. I use 3/8 brake lines, bend them, and that's how I. No rubber.
Is there any issue with? I know mine's against the air conditioner cooling. Is there any issue with stacking all three of those together?
You don't want them close to. You need to leave room between
Space,
one and the
right,
other.
okay.
You need to leave room.
When we were looking at mine, that's the first thing my friend said was that doesn't make sense that they're against each other.
No,
Okay.
no. One is going to heat the other anyway.
Right,
Yeah, so
that's-
yeah.
that's going to
No,
be-
you want separation. You
Right,
want separation,
okay.
and there's room. There's no reason.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people would like to put a lot of junk in there, but there's room.
There's reason to put that space.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
There's room to have the space.
On that transmission cooler, previous owner on mine disconnected from the radiator for whatever reason. And now I've got something about this big. It's the only transmission cooler.
I don't think it's big enough. They rate transmission coolers by your weight. So you got 15,000 pounds. Oh, 15,000 pounds is enough. Well, I think you should double that. Okay, when you buy a gauge, do you buy a gauge that runs that full needle all the time?
No,
You run it at halfway, right?
right. So
Okay.
yeah.
So you want something that runs at halfway, because as things get older, that still has the capacity to keep it at full. Even it's going to be a little higher and higher and higher, but it's got capacity. If you're already at capacity, then that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
So I'm sorry, this isn't assembly, but the second follow-on is, where's the best place to wire in the gauge or to plumb in the gauge?
Okay, so there's two places. One is the pan. You get a Ragusa, and it already comes with one.
Okay,
And then if you get a Ragusa, I'll give you my address so you can send me your old pan.
okay,
I'll pay for shipping.
okay. I knew I was going to lose out on this.
Okay, the other place is pressure. Me personally, I'd rather know the pressure in the transmission than the temperature. All right? because they go together. So when I turn the engine on, I see my 60 pounds pressure. I know I've got pressure. I know I'm not low because I've got pressure. I know when I take off, it's not going to do anything because it's got that pressure. If it's low, it's not going to have pressure. Believe me, it's not going to pressurize.
Where did you put in your pressure gauge?
Oh, I'm glad you asked that. There's a board, and it's right here.
Where's that?
Right there.
It's on the side of the transmission.
It's on
I don't know why
the
it's-
driver's side of the transmission.
Just above the pan.
It's behind, this is the shifter area, the shifting mechanism. It's right behind there.
So that's just a pressure port?
That's a pressure port. This is how we check pressure on this transmission. So you buy your gauge with a,
120 pound gauge or something like that?
no, you need more, you need 300 pound. Because it goes up to 160.
Oh, it does.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so you want it like halfway, okay, 300 pound. You don't want to run a full pound. Okay, so I like to know what my pressure is. Having the temperature on this just gives you an idea of how it's doing. And if you get up to, it should be like 160 to 180, that's what your temperature should be on the fan. If you go 220, 240, something is not right.
If you will go to B-Dub's site and download the Chevy P30 chassis manual that's there, there's an appendix there on external oil coolers and a table of pan temperature versus ATF light. There's some real good information in that book.
All right, so now let's continue now. So on this pump plate, there's one big important thing. It's this piece right here. And this is what a check valve. And what this does is it blocks the oil here from leaking back down. So when your converter leaks down too fast, it's either because this thing is not properly set in or it rusted out. And
That's scary.
no, it's not scary. It doesn't matter. It just takes longer for you to.
I mean, why did it rust out?
Oh, there's a lot of people that live in snow countries and stuff. So, and this is a really thin thing, and this thing really rusts out fast. Yeah. So, because most of the time this thing is dry. So it just blocks that hole right there.
Oh,
All right, can I borrow your knife again? I didn't bring my scissors.
That's where
Okay,
you
I'm set.
use that special tool you showed me how to make.
All right, so now there's just two gaskets. After I put this in there, there's two gaskets, and the way I orient it is there's this hole, what do you call a keyhole, and that goes on here. So that I just orient it that way and try to line the holes. And this one, where this thing is, goes over here, and it doesn't even cover that hole there. I don't know why it doesn't cover that. So you will line it over the holes. Then I use six bolts. I use 6 bolts here. So I put this thing over here, and I thread so that lines it up. Then this this area here is different than anything else. And I know from years of experience that this goes here.
Yeah.
Now,
Your precision installation.
my precision installation thing.
It's not even a snap-on hammer, I'm disappointed.
Oh, man.
Harbor Freight.
So I need a volunteer. How come you're not volunteering?
Didn't you learn anything?
You beat me to it.
I'm afraid to now.
All right, just hold that right there.
You hit it with a hammer.
Well, so now we put this on the hole. So we'll try not to lose so many of this stuff. Okay, hold on. Take it out. Put it in the middle. That might be. So usually I just go to my press and I just push it down, but since
You didn't bring your press?
it wouldn't fit through the door, I couldn't do it.
Gotta talk to Bob about the door.
Take the slide out of it.
Now,
Did I miss you putting in the converter out valve? You said,
oh, you didn't see it?
well, I wasn't looking apparently, but I wanted to make sure it's, you put it in there.
Yeah,
Okay.
everybody else saw it. Can we rewind that thing? Yeah, I put it in.
Okay, no problem. I didn't see it.
You didn't? Did you guys,
Don't beat me.
anybody, that flat,
That curved spring.
that blade thing, that's what that was.
The check valve?
The check valve, that's what he's talking about. He's worried I didn't put it in.
Oh, that's all right. I didn't see you take the filter out yesterday either.
He didn't.
All right, so now this sub-assembly is almost done. So now we need, so there's this, that's too far away for me to go. This is a selective washer, okay? There's different thicknesses. And they come with somewhere around here, there's a bunch of bushing set there. I mean, thrust washer set. And on a thrust washer set, and you see why I buy this, because this got all the metal stuff. But in here, these are all different thicknesses, okay? And the one I took out, so I usually get my calipers and I measure. And this one, since I don't have the calipers, I don't know. So I'm just gonna put one in, it doesn't matter. But this black one seems to be the most that I put in. For some reason, that seems to be the most used one. So I'm gonna go put that one in. And then it takes, somebody's in trouble. So, and these are oil rings, and you can see I use metal, I don't use. Everything okay, buddy?
Yes.
We'll be in a minute.
All right, so 2 oil rings, and I use metal. The ones that were in there were plastic, they were what they call Teflon. I'm gonna put this here, I might need it. So this is down. We need a gasket. And there's a pump plate.
Could I pretty please help start some of those?
Yes, but not on this step, hold on.
There's limits in how much you'll trust him.
No, we're not, it's nothing to do with that. So this is an inch thick, which is a little less, and this is an inch. And these are an inch and an eighth.
They're the stainless ones.
Yeah.
So if somebody opens up a transmission and it's got stainless bolts on it, odds are it's a Manny tranny.
It depends if it's got all the other stuff I put in.
Oh,
I had one person that I sold the transmission to, and they put it in, and then he sent me a transmission saying that it doesn't work, and I opened it up, I go, that's not my transmission. But all he did was switch the tags. The tag said it was mine, but none of the hardware said it was mine.
sorry, son of a gun.
It was, oh, my son. I guess it must have been my son. Blame it on his son. Yeah, Bill.
Manny, when I was working at Chevrolet and all the power plant one time, I always put my little mark in a place. And that happened to me. Apparently someone took it out and swapped the transmissions and brought it back. This is mine. That'll happen. Well, nobody's gonna have stainless bolts, so you're the only one.
Ah, no, they'll probably do it. I sold the transmission to somebody, and he was in Alaska. And I go, man, it's gonna be expensive as hell. He said, are you okay? Okay. I said, oh, yeah, just send it. So I send it. So he sent me half the money. All right, so the next thing you do is now you gotta make sure there's a selective one. So you have to make sure this thing is not sitting up right on top. There's a little gap. And you want no more than 20 thousandths. Okay? And 20 thousandths, I don't know, a lot of people don't know what 20 thousandths, but I've been working for a while, so I'm pretty good at guessing what 20 thousandths is.
Half of 40.
Well, 40,000 is a millimeter, so it's half a millimeter.
2/3 of the spark plug gap.
There you go. So what I do is, this thing needs to come up a little bit.
Highly technical term.
So this one's it's probably 15, because it doesn't go very much. See that? It doesn't go very much. See this height there? Okay. But it goes. So how's that for gas? Because this selective washer looks a little thinner. But because we swapped cases. So anyway, so that's experience. Anyway, so before I go on, I need to put this in. Because if I put all these bolts in, this doesn't go in. We gotta take all this off. So,
been there once before?
Probably
I
more.
wish it was only once. And this guy goes right in the middle here. And I can't tell if it's going in or not.
And that's the pin that goes in that bad plug.
And this is this is what holds that center support against the side of the transmission, because there's two ports here that oil goes back and forth. And there's no seal, that's what that is. And being tied against that is what centers it. But this thing can still rock this way. Okay, and that's why we put in the brass, the bronze bushing in there and all that. You know. All right, Ken.
You're on, Ken. He's such a big boy.
And then 5 here. And don't get nervous.
I'm trying not, with this audience watching me, this awful lot of publicity at one
Make sure
time.
you do them right on my transmission.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, I'd hate to screw up Carrie's transmission.
The verb or pronoun, read my mind.
Should I shut off the camera right now? or-
Yeah, shut it off. I don't use impact, I use a ratchet and a set of 6 thing. On this one, I'm just gonna go by feel.
Is there a sequence?
I don't know, is there?
I don't know.
I just go around and do it.
Okay.
I just start at one place, and I've been doing it ever since. That way I don't miss anything. I just keep going in a row. My the thing about going here and there is, you know, there's too many bolts to keep track. So you're better off. If you miss one, then you're gonna have a leak. So.
And the leak would cause a drop in pressure
Oh yeah.
because there's fluid in that area.
Well, yeah,
Okay, but the leak would be a high pressure leak, so it would drop.
from the inside out coming out. Yeah.
So it's not that it's bad to have fluid in there, it's just you don't want to lose the pressure.
Yeah, you don't want the thing to. Yeah, you can't. Yeah, just one stupid bolt off will come through because of the spacing. Some of the spacing. This is pretty wide to keep it all tight.
Right off the bat. Oh yeah. So the objective here is just to teach us enough that we're going to go ahead and take our transmissions apart and screw them up, and then have to buy some from you. Is that
No,
the plan?
the objective here is to tease you.
You wanna take them apart?
The thing is, we tried several times to build a transmission at one of these the conventions, and the last one was a dear friend. His name's BB, and he's not very active anymore. But he tried, and then we had too many some parts that were bad. Like on this one, there's some parts that were bad. So but I brought. Or somebody brought 3 transmissions, and I brought 2 of my own. So we had plenty. We knew we had to make sure that we'll build this one for me, so you guys can see it. And we're just gonna.
I appreciate it. That's very good.
So while we were gone, the only thing I did is I put the pump back in there because we're getting a little limited. So the pump, no big deal. It's just 6 bolts, and I had to replace the bushing, so I just replaced the seal here. Put it in and tighten it up, so I can just go ahead and do this part. And this, what goes on here now is these guys.
Now, I understand
So
they have a kit out that changes those out with a chain and changing your differential.
Yes.
What do you think of it? What's your comments on that?
Oh,
kit.
I sell those, so I think very highly of those.
I have one and love it. Power drive.
Power drive.
It's called, yes, it was by Chuck Stoddard's the one who came up with it, and
Weren't there several different ratios that were done by various people over the years?
I don't know about several of them.
'Cause I need to get a different final drive. This is doing 5 miles an hour up a hill is for the birds.
Yeah, but
my truck's fully
see,
loaded.
the only problem with the power drive is that so this one had a plastic thing and I put a metal ring. I'm telling you, because this one would be leaking because I can see it's already rubbing here. It rubs here, so it flattens it out. So it leaks. This one was leaking back. The power drive, the thing with the power drive is if your transmission's out, if your transmission failed, okay, if your transmission failed and you need to rebuild it, now is a good time if you want to put a power drive, improve it, get better ratio. If you're trying to get a power drive because, you're going too slow up the hills, then change the final drive, and that's where Jim comes in, okay? Change the final drive, he's got more options. He's got so many options, he doesn't even know them all.
That's right. That's why I went.
But he's got 355, 370, 411, and whatever. All I got is the 350. And then the thing is, if you go, 350, I'd like 370. So if then 370, then you have to take your final drive, and I'll have to put another different final drive, which I sell the 321. But then cost-wise, he's a lot cheaper. So so we're just trying to help you guys. So cost-wise, if your transmission fails, power drive will be good because it gives you 350. Okay, and that's a good money-wise option. Okay?
I didn't know where the tranny could take that.
Yeah, it can. Yeah, it's fine.
Oh, okay.
But money-wise, but if the transmission is fine and you're just going slow, you want a better ratio, then you go with Jim's final drive because it's a lot easier to take that off and put another one in.
Yeah.
Because I want to get up the hill before the semi does.
Get a 370.
Or 321 in the power drive, which gives you
Anyway, on these, there's a where they keyed it. Can you zoom on there? It's darker. Maybe you need a light.
You got the light here?
Okay, so that right there is darker.
Yeah.
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 Okay, so that needs to be on outside towards the case. So whenever you're putting this, if you guys are going to be doing this, that needs to be on the outside. So if you're going to put it back, that needs to be on the outside. Right now, I put it face down because I'm going to flip it.
Okay, I hope I got mine back correct. Yeah, I do too.
The reason I asked that, I had a couple of friends that did that before Jim Kamalo came out and put spinal cord.
All right, and yesterday I didn't have my measuring tape, but I'm so curious to know what this thing is. And I can tell you right now that it's 73/8. And I didn't mention
That's what you guessed, I think.
Yeah, because it sounded right. So, and that, like I said, you got to put force on it to get so that I had a
Snap ring.
Wires are laying there.
Oh, there they are. So now I got to put those snap rings.
Manny, do those chains fail very often?
No, I haven't seen one fail yet.
But I'm gonna pull this out because I want to point out something real fast to you guys. There's a snap ring in here. You can see the snap ring right there.
Oh, my snap ring.
Okay, and that's what holds this bearing in there. So this bearing is actually pressed into this shaft. Not into this shaft, I'm sorry. Into this, yes. But what happens is, sometimes,
bright, it doesn't help
sometimes they turn on the race. They get loose and turn on the race. And when they do, when this thing is turning, it creates a lot of heat. And what it does with this snap ring is just pops it. Okay. When that snap ring pops it, now this bearing comes out. This goes back, hits the back of the pan, the chain pan, and makes a lot of noise. And the reason this goes in and out is the force from the converter. Okay, because this is the converter in here. There's this air pressure going in, so this thing slides in and out. So the converter goes back and forth. And that's what creates that pressure and stuff. And it's a very hot fluid and stuff. And once it starts moving, everything gets hotter and hotter and hotter. So, so when I do this, I make sure that this thing is not spinning on there. That race is tight. So, and these bearings are getting more and more expensive. I buy Timken. That's who I buy, Timken. And now they're like 30 bucks a piece now. They're not, $12 anymore. They just keep going up. Yeah, so I just wanted to point that out.
That was what happened to Jerry Works coats that you and Ken went down and...
Yeah, that's what happened to his, and what happened is, yeah, and the problem is, I wasn't finished putting the assembly in, and I just grabbed it, and I had, so then he had a second problem with the same thing.
So that was an MFU?
Yes.
Manny found out?
Mine, yeah. And it seems like every time I screw up, it's very public. Yeah.
I don't keep secrets well, man.
Yeah, but I told him, okay, I don't care, just go ahead, but publish it.
Yeah, but we gotta wait so long for that opportunity.
No, it wasn't me that, I mean, you guys were...
No, I mean for the opportunity to see you mess up.
Oh.
But tell them how long it took us to change that transmission in the shopping center.
So but if the thing is, if everything was fine, I would have been a hero. Right, Ken? Yeah. We would have been heroes, but hey.
So-and-so, I'm ready to leave his place after 3 weeks. I'm getting up the next morning to leave, and he comes out after I'm going to bed. Says, Jerry worked this call. He's broken down at Pismo Beach. How about going down with me in the morning? I said, okay, Manny, that's fine. I figured about 8 o'clock or so, I'd drag out of bed, get some breakfast. 5 o'clock and so-and-so wants to leave.
Maybe there's some snap ring pliers on the platform over there.
I don't think there's any holes in these things, are there?
No, that's a tooth end ring. Isn't it? Mine was.
Are there holes in there? Oh, yeah. Hooks, huh?
Hooks. Get so used to using new tools.
Aha!
Manny, when I put my chain back on, I'm not at all sure I got it the right way around. Does it matter?
Yes.
Oops.
Because what happens, if this thing it'll try to walk it out. Try to walk it out. It'll probably try to walk, either around here. That's the thing. Does anybody have anything I can put on this gasket? Do you, Tim? Do you?
Got some aviation.
You're the man!
I'll be back directly.
Okay.
All right.
Manny, what loops that change?
Number
Okay, there's fluid down here.
Oh, it's splash loop?
yeah.
Okay.
Should we take a break?
Yeah, let's take a look. I want this, but you know, it's not for everybody. Nothing isn't for everybody.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to bring my quarter mile times
Manny, when you rebuild a transmission, what do you do to the torque converter?
The torque converter, I got a company called Sexco.
They make torque converters.
You didn't have much trouble with the second.
And they, I give them money and they build it for me. Then you guys give me more money and then I give it to my wife. So it's a cycle. We love it.
So they don't do anything special for your torque converters that you know of?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
No, they're all, okay, so, and this is, we went around a long time because I was having fits at the beginning. They weren't, the heat was too high. And so we finally, you know, I kept telling them, no, this is not good, this is not good, and, you know. So they finally, because when you're trying to do something, you go to a shop, they think you don't know anything, so they don't listen to you. But eventually, after we got a relationship going, they started listening. And you guys don't mind if I keep working, right?
No, please do.
So one of the things that I didn't want the truss washer in there. I didn't want a truss washer. So all the transmission has this big truss washer in there, and it's black. And what that truss washer does, it puts black stuff on your transmission. I told them, no, I don't want that on there. I want a big Torrington or Timken bearing on there instead of that. And if you have to machine it, so be it, and charge me for it. But I don't want that. And then on the other end, there was already the bearing. So she says, okay, fine, we'll do it that way. So I went to the East Coast Jim's thing, and I told the guy, hey, this is what I want. So I actually cut. I had him cut a transmission. a torque converter, and I told him, look, I want you to put what's on here. So we got that done there too. And the torque converter I took over there, it was because I shipped a washer to wash my parts, and they turned it over. Inside I had a couple of converters, and the converters went rolling down the street. So I got insurance money on that. So but I wasn't about to put the converter back in one of the coaches, you know. So they gave me a chance to for the guy to open up and take a look, and it didn't really cost me any money. Hey, I might use all of this. Is that okay?
That's okay. I don't know whether I got more.
Okay. I mean, I can, I'll get donations going, see if somebody will help us buy you some more.
I don't believe they have that at the dollar store.
No.
Or Harbor Freight.
Fortunately, I never got skilled enough for this job.
While he's doing that, a funny thing has nothing to do with transmissions. There's a product called Fire Clean for cleaning lead out of gun bores.
Yeah.
Big deal. Everybody's been raving about it for years. Got a lot of pro shooters endorsing it. Turns out to be Crisco. That's all it is. They did a spectral analysis on it. Crisco.
You talk about
So
Crisco,
they're
okay.
buying this stuff for selling it in 15-ounce tubes for like $10, and it's got about a penny's worth of Crisco in it.
Well, hey, that is the American.
That is the American way.
Look, Mr. Danny Dunn, I don't think he's alive. I think he passed. Did he pass away? Does anybody know what happened to Mr. Danny Dunn? I heard he passed away. I don't know. Did he? I don't know. Did anybody know?
I haven't heard of him in a long
He
time.
is my hero. He did the same thing with the power drive. What he did is he got a 325 4L sprocket, okay, $10, right? Cut the chain, shortened it.
Repinned it.
Huh?
Repinned it.
No, he cut the chain, because you can just grind these things off.
Right.
But he cut the chain, and then used the same tabs and just re-welded them. Okay, so use the same chain, so it's a little bit of work. So $10, and he's selling for $1,000. My hero, right? Huh? Right? So a little bit of labor, right?
It was 365 ratio too.
Yeah, and it was 360. Yeah, right. So,
Manny, I took one of his transmissions apart, and that sprocket was a ½ inch more narrow, and that chain you could have run on a dozer. It was the floppiest thing.
but the thing is, he sold it, and he made money, and people bought it.
What you're applauding is his market.
Yeah, that is the American way, right?
Well, his product wasn't very good.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, but people bought it.
It's amazing how many people buy things based on price.
They're all Americans.
Yeah, it was American made.
Oh, look at that.
$5. Huh? $5. No, I don't. No. I think you wanted 30 for the inside. So no.
Do you know what the function of that piece inside is?
Splash.
Oh, okay.
Bob, your uncle.
He's probably going to put screws
Yeah,
in
you
there.
messed me up, Manny. That was only 2 slaps. I thought 3 slaps on everything. Thank you.
Ken, you're going to help us in?
I have to be asked.
Not before you
Oh,
weren't.
come on, Ken. You're.
That's good. Now you gotta be in.
I'm not allowed to take them out of the bag?
All right, I'm going to shut this off for now.
Yeah.
So the first thing I do on here is, where are you? This right here. Because I got to flip it back. So this is your pressure regulator.
Manny, why do you keep 3 transmissions out of the car?
Because there's a lot of variation between all the transmissions. If you go to a transmission shop, they do one at a time. They're going to do it to what that transmission they got there, whether it's for the motorhome or whatever the car was coming from. They don't know all the variations, all the stuff. Me, with 3, I see a lot of variations. So when I put it back in,
That's the regulator for the converter pressure.
pressure, yeah, for everything, for the whole transmission. So when I put it back in, I put them all the same way. I know exactly, everything's identical. Okay, I try to do 3.
When I was burning out thrust bearings, you said something about the converter pressure being regulated lower on the 425 and the 400, didn't you?
Yes, because on the 400s, on the 400, this thing is right on the pump. On this one, it's right here. Okay, and so this thing won't do 300 pounds like on the 400 can do. So I replaced this spring. The one that, if it's a motorhome, it's probably blue or some kind of a blue. So I put 2 more pounds than what the blue one is. So I replace them all. And that's because if it's a car, it can be yellow, it can be red, it can be, if it's got a shift kit, it's going to be whatever they put in, orange. So black, no collar. So I replace all of them just because I bought all those springs, so I got to get rid of them. So this is the reverse boost. Oh, there we go. Where were you? I need a screwdriver.
I'm a shop about 3 miles away from me, does all the cleaning.
All right, so now you put this just pushes in there. And you get your gloves out of the way and you put this in here. And then you push in all the way in just one move. Now it's in there, but it's not quite where it's supposed to be. Oh, then maybe it is, I don't know. I hear my wife talking back there. She's having a great time now with the ladies. Let me tell you something. She was. We had no TV, the phone kept dying because she kept using it. Oh man.
Why did you rotate?
So I pushed it all the way in. So now I got to bring it back to the groove because if I leave it right now, what's going to happen when you start this thing up? This thing is just going to shoot like hell. So I got to bring this thing back down to earth, to the groove.
Oh, okay. Why did you rotate that 90 degrees to put that in? Why did you rotate it and then rotate it back?
Because it's easy.
Okay.
If I try to push it down and trying to do this, it's, no, I got more leverage.
Okay.
Experience.
We're all watching you so we can set up our own
Shop.
GMC transmission.
So, I understood that.
That's the purpose of this, is to keep
All
you
right, so
from
the
doing
next
it.
thing is this guy I put in. Wow, I brought a lot of O-rings. And I replaced the O-rings on this. There's an O-ring in here. There was. We took it out and it was hard. They just get hard. And what happens after they get hard, they don't seal very well. That's what
So I
happens.
took the shutter program down, bad O-ring,
Yeah.
burnt through to it and melted.
So, anyway, so I use, did I say I use my tongue?
Yeah.
There's this guy and this guy.
Brandon, did you ever put that O-ring in the spot where the pin goes?
Huh?
Did you ever put that O-ring in the groove where the pin goes?
Probably only once.
Not really, no.
Like the heck of a leak.
No, because, no. No. So we have, a nut. Oh, we got a nut. Thank God, there's a nut.
Oh, you mean a
Oh, I'm
fastener?
the nut.
You mean a
All right,
fastener?
so this thing, the only thing, when you guys putting it in, is, here's what I've done. Put this way. Okay, so I've done that. But, the O-ring thing, no, sorry. I put them on the back.
It's something you remember well for a long time.
Yeah.
And this takes a 9/16 open end. And the thing you gotta keep an eye on is just when you tighten this up, not only going into where it's supposed to go, this other thing, this other shaft, and do I have an extra one? No, I guess not. You got to make sure it goes in the hole, because once you tighten it up, you can't take it out. I mean, you're going to have to loosen everything up in order to put it back in. So that happens. Yeah, this right here, this piece right here, this.
Is that a nylock bolt or anything, or is it what keeps it from backing out?
Castellated.
Yeah, it's castellated.
Okay.
Yeah, it's castellated. Maybe from this side you can see it. Just you can see that it's all flush. On this side, yeah, you can see that it's all flush. You see anything? Can't really tell.
I don't know what I'm looking at.
It's right here.
So
It's on this side.
against
Yeah.
the case.
Yeah. No, not against the case. It's we're looking at this area here. So in other words, this thing right here is up and down. There's no gap there.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah. Anyway, so the next thing now is the pin. And I haven't figured out how I'm gonna do this. But I think I got guys here that are really strong. So I buy these pins. But they go right in. They'll come right out. So what we need to do is, I don't want to cut it, but I want to smash it.
The little spring pin.
No,
Solid?
solid pins.
You're burning it, so.
Yeah. So I'm trying to smash it on the side so that when I put it in, it goes against the aluminum here. And then I use,
See if I can get that. Am I getting that?
something to hit it down with.
You know, someplace there's a shop teacher slitting his wrists.
All right, so if I can pull it out, it's not tight enough. All right, so how are we gonna do this? I got a hammer, I need another hammer. Okay. This is called improvising. This is 96,000s, and I couldn't find anything that would fit, so I tried. The ones that comes out of here, they're not split either. So they have they had a press that flattened them out too. So now that's on there pretty good. And all it's doing is not letting this thing come out. So
Okay.
that's all that's doing. So. Put this on here. So this is when you go in like this, it pushes the pawl in and the pawl just hold it in park.
So that's the parking pawl.
Yeah, just push the parking pawl in. That's what pushes the parking pawl in. And the parking pawl, it's spring loaded, so it's always away from the planetary, you know, because it's, you know, so it doesn't hit it in any condition. So,
It's right there in the tail.
so right now, because this is not engaged. So right now, because this is not engaged, but watch this go. So once this thing goes in, see it? Anybody saw it? So it fell right in. So now it's engaged in park.
Oh, so you really could refund that real hard and not hurt them or hurt anything.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So you
Okay.
this is in there. All you're doing is pulling this thing out.
Okay.
And it's spring loaded, so you can pull it out, and eventually it'll just snap out. And that's where and then this thing just hits that thing there because, you know, it's under pressure. So, but it's not enough to make it do any damage.
Unless they drag your coach backwards 100 yards. Right?
Yes, unless they do that. All right,
that part.
the next thing I do is the accumulator. I'm looking for my yellow. Oh, that's. So I cut these off. And then I put in metal, metal, metal. So,
Now, are those parts something that are readily available, the metal seal rings?
the oil rings,
Yeah.
I don't know. They were in 07. I haven't bought them since then, so I don't know. But remember, nobody else does this. They all use the plastic. And you always put, when you're using a poking thing, you always put it away from you. That way you don't poke yourself. That they're used to.
It's called one-trial dramatic conditioning.
So I'll replace this seal on here. Most of the time, these seals are fine. They don't need to be replaced. But then if I didn't replace it, I'd have 500 of them laying around. So I might as well just use them.
It's cheaper to replace than to repair.
Hope this works. I can do this. I got the technology, I think. All right, so the thing is, when you're putting this in, you have to get this inner,
Seal ring.
right, okay, this inner, inside the bore.
Yeah.
Okay, because if you notice, this is at an angle. This is straight, but this is at an angle. If I put the valve body on top of here, at that angle, this does not go in. When you start it, break this side of it. Okay, so this has to be put in first. Most transmission shops know about this. And the thing is, I don't have the proper tool for this with me, just a little bigger. So I'm trying to do it with this really open and pushing it down. Okay, it's not working. Does anybody have any channel lock? I mean, any channel locks, small little channel locks?
Yeah, I do, Coach. Like 7-inch channel locks or
Just,
something?
I don't know, whatever you got.
See those?
I just need to open a little.
Yeah, I got some thinner than that.
Okay. All right, thanks, Billy.
Now, what does that part do?
This is an accumulator for your big band, the big black band.
Oh, that's the thing that,
Okay, and this is, so while we're waiting on that,
What does it do to the big black band?
it for a low and reverse, so that's your accumulator for pushing that band in.
But that piston applies one end of the band, doesn't it?
Correct, yeah.
Oh, so it's really a servo, it's not an accumulator.
It's an accumulator.
Well, an accumulator would be something that stores pressure.
It does. It stores pressure inside that cup.
Ah, okay.
So if your pressures aren't up in your transmission, when it needs to engage that.
Oh, okay.
should I stop this for a while? Or?
No, we'll just keep going. When we come back, we'll work on that. All right, so now I'm using,
I think you should put on this shirt, honey. Well, don't you guys think so? I'm not arguing. I'm just explaining why I'm right. I found this on Walmart. You see that? You always argue. Isn't that a perfect shirt for him?
I think he had one for you, though.
Oh, no. You should see the one I have for me, for another one like that.
Somehow I think I know why you're, I think it's his new shop shirt.
anyway, so the pan that comes with the transmission, and because I use that bigger band, right? So if you're gonna, yeah. So the pan that I use is, let me line it up. Okay, go ahead.
It's a little bit longer.
Yeah. Okay, it's a little bit longer, and that's because of the bands that I use from the 4A it's a little difference on there, so I have to use so I have to make a pin for it. If you're going to use the regular then just use the regular pins. You don't have to go through all of this. You know, so a lot of times instead of watching TV, I'm on my lathe.
So if anybody takes one of your transmissions, rebuild it, and puts the original band in, it's gonna be too tight.
Yeah, this is not gonna work, right?
Things to remember. We need a handout there.
Maybe you need a handout.
It'll work. Thank you.
Those are Harbor Freight ones.
No, they're not. They're better. Okay, so this has two tensions. This one tensions on the spring that in there, and this one is on the band. So you have to make sure that you got both of them. All right, now let's see if Billy's wrench is gonna work. So you can't. The thing is, I can put this on here, right? But the problem is, I can't put this on here.
Oh.
So I have to. All right. So that's the reason for that.
It's kind of assembly proof.
Yeah. So.
Something up bitch.
I just don't want, if you can see it, you know, if you shine a light on there, you're not going to see the oil ring on.
Okay.
Yeah. So you just want to make sure that's in there. And then the next thing you do is one tap.
Get that one?
All right. So now it's this one. I already replaced the oil ring on that. So this is your old one, and you just take this O-ring out of here and just put another one. But I put a new one on there already.
So Manny, what, on the accumulator that you just slapped, I see the O-ring sticking up at the edge. Does that go in further and stay? On the back side?
Just remember, this is at an angle.
Yeah.
This is straight at, this is at an angle.
Okay.
When this thing gets pushed down with the valve body, they'll stay down. They'll never come, they'll never be up.
I just didn't know what.
Yeah, but this will, yeah. So once this goes down, see, once it goes down, it'll just stay down there.
Got it.
This doesn't move.
See there with the other.
This
two
doesn't
goes?
move. It's because it's just held with the valve body, and it's the other stuff inside. The other thing I do now is I put some oil in here, and I put this in here, and this is for the modulator. And this one, you want to make sure that when you put it in, it goes in and out. It doesn't hang up. So, you know what I mean? So when you bring it out, it slides easy, right? Did you guys get that?
I think so. Got it? Okay.
Yeah. It just slides easy because you don't want it to bang up, to hang up, because then you have shifting problems. Doesn't shift right. And now I put in the check balls. And how many people remember how many check balls are supposed to be?
7.
19. 7.
remember
how
the
many
first time you
people
took it
were
apart, you got 6, and then you went looking for the one you missed.
That's right. So there's 7.
Yeah.
Um,
Is it pretty obvious where they go?
no.
Okay.
And it's really hard when you're doing it from underneath.
But it can be done.
But it can be done, yeah.
What does that one do?
So what do? Hold them up with grease?
You use a separator plate. Yeah, you put a little bit of grease on where the holes are supposed to be. But of course, there's a lot of holes in here. You put it on the wrong hole, and it's gonna go in the wrong place. All right, so that happened to me too. All right, so now we move on to what time is it? Anybody know? Is it after 1?
Oh, yeah.
Is it?
It's almost 3, yeah.
Oh, okay.
You see everybody
Okay.
leaving?
Okay, now, do you guys want to continue, or do you
Yes.
guys want to go to open house?
I want to continue. I don't know about everybody else.
Okay, so anyway, there's open house right now, and or what is it, swap meet?
2 to 4. I don't know about swap meet, but I think swap meet too, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys want to go ahead and go, because right now, it's almost over, Bill, take me a little over. So I'm going to put a couple of springs on the valve body, and I was going to show you how to do that, and then put the valve body in, and it's basically done. So if you guys want to wait, fine. If not, go ahead and go to swap meet.
Just tell me, how do you make sure the millipedes aren't in there? In the metal critters?
I don't know. How did you get a millipede in there? That sucker was big. It was just, it wouldn't let the fluid go in.
That is right.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
So
I got this.
he had okay, so there's an exhaust on the valve body, and well, there's an exhaust right here. Where is it at? Right here. There's an exhaust right there, and that sucker went inside of there, and it was just stuck in there, so the thing couldn't shift.
What was stuck in there?
A millipede, one of those little bugs that's got a bunch of little.
Oh Jesus!
Yeah. So he had a transmission sitting for a while, and something got in.
I guess that qualifies as a bug in the system, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it wasn't open.
Yeah, but it wasn't open. Yeah.
You do know what.
Oh, wait a minute. Billy, I'm sorry.
Well, he brought those too.
Oh, because I got something just like these.
How you got 2 there?
All right, so this, I want to show you because I can tell already this is not I need a flat blade. I need another flat blade.
Are any coaches open, or is everybody here?
Yeah, they're open. I mean, ours is. I don't know about anybody else's, but.
All right, so this. Oh my God.
Manny, how much longer do you think you'll be gone?
We're probably going to be another 30, 40 minutes, 45 minutes.
I promised my wife I'd spend a little time with her.
There you
so
go. Go.
I'll be back shortly.
Yeah, we'll let you know what happened.
So all of these transmissions have this Teflon stuff. I hate this Teflon, except for the early ones.
Okay, you got a lot.
Is it full of oil? No. It's not?
What is it? It's a flow by oil separator.
So this is the spring for our motorhome.
Oh, that's different than pass card?
Yeah. So it's a lot different than this.
Top, no,
Where's yeah, but I don't know what happened to the snap ring.
I didn't see it come out, but I know you just took it out, but.
No, it came right out. Hold it with this. I thought I put it on top of here somewhere.
Yeah, I thought you did.
No.
Oh, I thought you
I don't want to lose my O-ring, my snap ring again. Are you filming?
No, just like that.
I bet it must be underneath something here.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Jesus.
$14, $17, perfect. So now you so I replaced these springs so that they're all the same. And these come in different colors. Yes. I put them all the same.
What do those do?
This is 1-2, 1-2 shift. And I put this tab up instead of down. Now, did we lose the pin too?
Oh,
Oh, there's
there's the clip.
there's the clip. So number 17. So I just use these
some of the springs that have different variation depending on the ear. All right. Remember, it's right there.
Okay, we got it.
All right, so this one had a spring on the outside. For the one, this is 33. And these things, this particular landing, they come in different sizes, all different sizes. What else? I'll put this back. They're not identical. So the one that got the holes with the elongated things, that's the one that goes first. The one that has a bunch of square cuttings, square ports, the one with lots of square goes last. So the one that has a lot of holes goes first. So
Now, it looked like you put another one of those aside.
there's three. There's one for the switch bitch, but we're not doing
okay.
the switch bitch. Okay, and the separator plate only goes one way.
But we could get it wrong.
No, because it's, you know, that goes there. So what I try to do is I try to line up these two holes right here. These two holes right here. That's my reference. Because I use
I feel like the Statue of Liberty, you know?
I use these two bolts on the converter, on the converter, I think converters now, on the ball body. Double check, make sure you put the balls in.
Wouldn't want to not have any balls.
Right. So, and then just, you know, one there, put one there, lower it down, bring this out to where this thing is, line it up.
Oh.
And then drop it. That needs to go in there. And then just screw in the two bolts.
What was that thing you said you need to drop in there where you can't see it?
This right there.
Ah, okay.
I have what's probably a dumb question to you, but is that all that shifts it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's a little sliding valve.
Yeah, well,
The position of the rings inside that, of the
Right.
motor diameter thing.
There's just
so that's-
open holes so that when it goes to a certain area, just oil goes, yeah, redirect.
That actually makes the whole concept of how this damn magic works kind of makes sense.
It's an analog computer with,
Yeah.
That part's a lot
So
easier.
there's, on this thing, there's six bolts. They're the same length. But I use one that's, and these are 1 5/8, and I use a 1 3/4 on this one because it takes the ring, the tension on the shifter mechanism. So I got 1 3/4. I got like 500 of these. I found 500 of these, and I guess 1 3/4 is hard to find. But I got 500. I go, oh, okay, then I can put those on there. Yeah. So I know it's one of my mods because nobody's going to have that.
And that little spring that you just put on is what gives the positive field that you're in gear.
That's what it is.
And you think I wasn't smart enough to handle a switch pitch?
You probably are. Whoever has the coach next may be a separate issue. I mean, suppose you sold it to a Discovery owner.
Be a big shit.
So this thing also needs 3 1.5-inch 5/16 bolts and 2 2-inch bolts and 9 2-inch 1/4-inch bolts, or 20.
Good grief.
maybe some dead time here.
All right, so once we tighten this down, the kickdown solenoid goes here, and the oil filter goes here, and the modulator goes here. And
Why did I take the pin off? That's why.
I double O-ring the oil filter. But does anybody know why the oil filter is double O-ring?